Hello everybody and welcome to the January edition of our Coach's Corner. Today I'm here in Green City to talk to one of Green City's, not only one of their best basketball players, but one of their best basketball coaches. We got Matt Ayers here right now. Let me just introduce you a little bit. He's scored over 1,000 points as a player here at Green City, and then he came back and coached, and ever since 2022, he has won a district title every single year as a coach, including going to a third place game 2 years ago and an undefeated regular season just last year. Now, Coach, let's kind of get started into it. How did you kind of get into basketball and athletics in general here in Green City?
Well, I grew up loving to play basketball, obviously, and grew up on a farm here in Green City, so I naturally just took to the hardwood floor and enjoyed my time here as a player and playing, and then, went and played at college and eventually coached a little while at the college level, and then, I felt a calling to move back here, and I actually in farming now full time, so it's just a little bit part of my story. Was out of basketball actually coaching for quite a few years, so it's a blessing to be back coaching and being a part of the game again.
And what is the basketball culture like here in Green City that you saw during your time as a player?
It's always been a strong, culture around here. Everybody loves the game of basketball. It's what you do in a small town. You come out and you support the local teams. And it's always just been part of the community. I can remember when I was playing, had a group of older ladies that followed me everywhere, every game I ever went, and they would load up in a car. It didn't matter if there was a snowstorm, didn't matter anything, they were there. And and in their eyes I could do no wrong. They never thought I fouled, they never thought I did anything wrong, but just a sweet group of ladies, and it's just what it is around here. And you have the community support, and just makes it for a community bonding around the game of basketball.
Green City, I think for the size of the school, has one of the best student sections, bestest crowds at every game. How's that help you guys, especially being from a small town, have that support behind you?
Yeah, it's huge, and we've gotten to play in some big games on our home floor the last several years. To go to state, the quarterfinal game, we got to host that on our home floor, which was unreal atmosphere. Last year we got to host the district championship on our floor and the sectional game on our floor last year, and those games are memories I think our players will never forget. The atmosphere that the fans created, and I know I won't ever forget it. And I can remember playing in a district championship here when I was a player, and the atmosphere was so much fun, and anytime we can get the crowd out and them cheering us on, it's such a advantage to us to be able to do that.
During your time, like we said, you had a standout career, scoring 1,000 points, got to go to college. What was that like going from Green City to the next level? What was that like for you?
It's definitely a leap. It's a challenge. You're kind of used to being the man at the 1A high school level, and then you kind of you have to find your role as a basketball player at the college level, and it's usually a different role. So it's definitely a challenge in the athleticism and the height and all that you see at the college level, but it was a good experience for me and taught me a lot of things, and ultimately, that's what basketball is for me. It's a teaching thing. It's taught me a lot in my life, and I try to translate that to my players and just trying to teach them things through the game of basketball.
And what was that like? How did you end up into coaching? How did you go from being a player into coaching like you did at the college level?
Well, I always wanted to be a college coach, to be honest with you, and I thought I always wanted to be a college coach, and I did it. And Coach Matt Brock, he played at Truman State University. He actually was able to come to our homecoming game here recently because he's now the coach at Illinois Springfield, and they were playing Truman that next day. So it was really good to see him catch up. But he was my coach my senior year here. He was also my coach my freshman year in college, and then he went to Pittsburgh State University. I eventually followed him and was a grad assistant there, and then became a full-time assistant. I actually took his position when he left to another college. So I naturally, he was a mentor of mine, someone I looked up to, and he kind of got me my foot in the door in the college. Once I got in there, I realized how much hours and time, and I knew it wasn't necessarily a thing I wanted to have my family, because I was going to be apart from my family a lot, and so I decided to take that step to get out. I missed it. It was kind of a hard decision, but at the same time, I felt like it was what was best for my family.
In top where you took a little bit of time away from basketball. Do you think that time helped you kind of refine your love for it and being away from the game for a little bit like that?
Absolutely. I needed the time away from basketball. It's been a part of my life forever. And when you're coaching, you can kind of lose what really matters in the people around you, and you get a little caught up maybe too much on wins and losses and all that. I could feel myself going down that road when I was a college coach, and maybe wasn't caught up in all. And this is my second chance to just make it about the people around me, make it about the players. Really, wins and losses are going to take care of themselves, and I want to win like everybody else. But you know what? Am I bettering the players? Am I teaching them things? And so it's given me a second chance. You know, Brooke Littrell was in high school when I kind of came back too, and she gave me a love for the game because she asked me to start working her out and work with her on the gym. And I just saw her love for the game, and being a part on the court and working with her and seeing her grow as a player and seeing all that, that was actually a big step for me to get back in the gym, because I was out of the gym for quite a few years until she actually asked me to come help her.
Talked about, you refound that love for the game, you know, talk about Brooke. Yeah. How did that help you, like maybe not being a full-time coach like that, but being around the players and just seeing their love for the game like that?
The players is what makes it. I mean, I have loved the kids I've coached. You know, last year was hard, that loss, and mainly because it was a team that I loved so dearly. That they worked hard for me. I've been with that group of guys the longest. You know, when I think about them and coaching them and the joy they brought me in the game of basketball, it's just so much fun. And I see these guys, you know, Xander Salas reached out to me after the championship game congratulating me. You know, Tristan Harrison did. You know, I saw Noah and Ty Hall at the games, and I actually have them on film when we hit a big shot against Putnam. They're up celebrating. And, you know, that's the culture I want to build, though.
And he ended up taking over, like we said, in 2022 for Coach Fields. Let's start with that. What was your relationship like with Coach Fields, and how did he kind of shape you into the person you are today? Well,
Coach Fields, he set the groundwork for all this. You know, we've had a lot of success, and he's a big part of that. And he coached me in baseball, never coached me in basketball, but he's always been a part of my life since I was a young man, and he's always been rooting me on, cheering me on, you know, and even when I took the position, I always felt supported by him, and the support was always there, and I felt like he wanted what was best for the kids, he wanted what was best for me, and I'll never forget the support he showed me, and I have a lot of gratitude towards him and him being able to just feel like I'm not stepping on any toes, and feel like that he wants to see this program keep going, and he was right there rooting me on. I still remember when we made the Final Four game, the first guy I saw was Coach Fields over there rooting our team on, and he was in the front row, and our guys go over and are giving him fives, and Eric Littrell, who also passed away, you know, he was in that front row too, and those two guys are dearly missed by our program.
And how did you kind of get into the discussions to become the head coach here at Green City? How did that kind of start to get you back into coaching?
You know, it wasn't on my radar, to be honest with you. I was busy building my business and trying to grow, and someone just they reached out to me a little bit, and then just told me to think about it. So you know, I talked to my wife, and I knew for me to step back into the basketball, she would have to be 100% on board, because we have 3 little kids. You probably see them at the games, you know, and my oldest actually gets to sit on the girls' bench now, and she's having a great time. But we have 3 little kids. It's a lot of work. She takes a lot of the responsibility of that, and it's a lot of work, but she said go for it. And so, you know, ultimately got the job, and obviously stepped into a great situation with a great group of kids.
Every time I talk to them, they always talk about significant other. They really play a big role in helping support you get where you're at, right?
Huge. I mean, she's amazing. She just does so much for the family, and I couldn't do it without her. I mean, I wouldn't do it without her, you know, and she's just been 100% supportive, you know. Championship game days, there's a lot of times she's making breakfast for the team. She's doing things for the team. There's a lot of stuff she does behind the scenes that nobody sees, and very thankful for her.
And you talked about how you're not only the head coach here, but you have your own farm. How do you kind of balance that? You know, a farm by itself is like 2 full-time jobs. How do you kind of balance that?
It's a challenge, and it's also a challenge not always being here at the school all day, so I have other responsibilities. with the farm and working that. But I have some great assistant coaches, and they really tell me what's going on in the day sometimes with kids or whatever. The information I need to know, they're letting me know throughout the day. And lucky my schedule's flexible enough, I can kind of move and with it. But it's a challenge, but it's also good. I'm chasing both dreams. Like the coach, that's a dream I always wanted to do. You know, I obviously wanted to do it maybe at the college level, but this is so much fun, and I'm glad I'm doing this to be able to chase the dream of coaching and also doing what I actually really love in agriculture and building business and just growing that as well.
And what's kind of the difference day to day from your time as a college coach to your time here as the head coach here at Green City?
It's different. You know, when you're a college coach, you're on the road recruiting a lot of nights out of the week. It's 24/7. Those guys put in a lot of time, and it's hard work. And the more amazing men and that in coaching, whether that's college or high school, that's what we want. We want these guys because they get to shape and mentor so many other young men, and they have a lot of influence. But it's a hard job, and those guys work their tails off if they're going to be good. You know, it's a hard job when you're a high school coach. You put in a lot of time and effort to be successful, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're college coaching.
First year here, you kind of continued the streak of district titles that was going on at the time. What was that like your first year stepping into a program that was already kind of on up and up, winning titles like that?
It was a lot of fun. You could feel the pressure a little of it. You know, you don't want to step in and let anybody down or let the town down or let your athletes down. They're used to winning. So there was some pressure involved in it, and there's also a little bit of learning curve, and we. I always felt like maybe we could have, my first year here, could have achieved a little bit more, I felt like we really grew and took some steps that second year I was here as a team, and they got used to me, I got used to them, and you saw what we were able to do with the Final Four berth. But it's been fun. I mean, I like to win, and I want to step into a winning tradition, and I was fortunate enough to do that. And and there's a lot of steps you got to take to keep that going in the right direction, because it can go the other way quickly if you don't have the expectations high.
And what was that like to be a part of that Final Four team, to be with that team that went all the way to Mizzou Arena like you guys did?
It was an amazing experience. It was such a good thing for our town. It was 93 was the last time and the only time, and so much excitement. You look back at that semifinal game, it's one you want back so bad. You get down there and it's kind of heartbreaking. We knew going into that game that was probably the championship game. We felt like we were the better team than the other side of the bracket, but we knew those two teams, Chadwick and us, we felt like the top two teams down there, and had it and just let it kind of slip away at the end. So that one still kind of hurts a little bit, but that the further you go and the better you do, the more expectations you have. You would have told me at the beginning of the year, we make the Final Four, I'm happy. Then you get there, you want to win it all. We didn't get to win it all, but it was such a great experience for the team and the town. I'll never forget the community support that we were shown and just how excited everybody was, and it was just a rallying point for our community.
Last year's team was another great year, only one loss right there in the quarterfinals. Yeah. What was that season like from a coach's standpoint to have such a talented team that really felt like they weren't going to lose the rest of the way like that?
I think that was it. I've talked to several of my players. We just never felt like we were ever going to lose. I can remember going into that La Plata championship game against Canton, and I knew as a coach, they never knew it. I knew as a coach that team was talented enough to beat us, and I honestly thought we could lose that game, and we ended up just playing really well, caught them on the right night, and you kind of build that culture where you just expect to win, and I don't think, not that we took anyone lightly, and you never take anyone lightly down the stretch like that. We knew St. Ete was really good. They play a really tough schedule, play a lot of bigger schools. Watching film, I'm like, these guys can really play. But we expected to win that game, and unfortunately we didn't. It was hard because I coached a group of guys that I felt like did it all right. Like they worked hard every day. I didn't have to. It was a team that was easy to coach in a way because they pushed themselves to the limit every day. I just felt like the guys were unselfish. There was no one making it about themselves. It was always about the team. They just played ball the right way. They worked hard. So not to hit our goal was tough, but what a magical season. I mean, I just feel like you can't take away from the season as a whole. And I think when these guys look back, they'll really remember that season as still being a very special season. Just unfortunately, we weren't able to get as far as we wanted.
Coming into this year, you lost a lot from that team. Xander Salas, you talked about the Hall brothers already, Jaden O'Haver, all graduating. Yet still you guys come out, win the Knowledge tournament, and win a very, a top-heavy Milan tournament like you guys just did. How do you do that as a community, especially a school like Green City that's kind of a smaller community, keep rebuilding every year like that?
We just try to develop guys, and these guys have really sit under the we had such good upperclassmen that these guys had a chance that you're seeing on the floor now, besides Ivan. And they've competed every day in practice against these top guys. So it's good to see them put it out on the floor, because I knew it was there and I knew that they could compete. But it was just a matter of, can we put that out on the floor and display? Because, sometimes translating that into a game when you haven't had any varsity experience at all can be tough. And these guys are doing such a good job. They compete at such a high level because that was the expectations in practice. You have to compete to push our upperclassmen. You have to make us the best team we can be. And they did that. And no one else seen it. No one else saw it except us and the team and the coaches. So now the community gets to see what these guys, what work they've been putting in, and it's translating, thankfully, for wins, and you're seeing success. And so I couldn't be more proud of this group. They're a fun group to coach. I really enjoyed coaching these guys. We have a lot of area for growth, but it's also a lot of inexperience out on the floor. But it's not the willingness is there. They want to learn, they want to get better, and that's all you can ask for as a coach.
I think we got time for 3 more questions for you. So you've been, like we talked about, a player and a coach here. Yeah. What would you say was harder of the two to be during your time here at Green City?
Well, I've had more success as probably a coach here. So, we had a lot of success as a player. I think our teams won 20-plus games every year. We were always good. Never could win that district championship, though, when I was a player. That always stung a little bit. And, I remember my sophomore year was arguably probably one of our better teams. Ran into North Shelby with Stoneburner, and they just rolled their way to the Final Four and won the champion. And I honestly thought that was maybe the championship right there. And I felt like it just unfortunately had to run into them. But really, it comes down to it's still the community. Playing here was so much fun because of the community, the people around me, the community that I have now as a coach. I feel supported. I feel like they're cheering me on. And that's not always the case. Coaching in your hometown can be very difficult. There's relationships, a lot of relationships there outside of basketball, and so coaching in your hometown has difficulties. But I felt like they've handled, the community's been so gracious towards me. They've been good towards me, and I'm thankful for that.
And you've been coaching for a couple of years now. What would your advice be to any other coaches that might want to come in, like your journey you had to come to their hometown? What would your advice be? It's tough. I think you want to conduct yourself in the right way. So you want to have positive relationships in that community before you ever step foot and start coaching. So that would be my first and foremost. Do you have positive relationships in the community? We've always tried to work towards that. Me and my family to have positive relationships in this community. Also, just understand that every child out there is somebody's kid, and I want what's best for the kid, but ultimately I want what's best for the team as well. So it's a challenge because I want to see that kid thrive. I want to see, there's not one kid that's come through my program that I don't want to see thrive and be elevated and succeed. But it comes down to sometimes with what's best for the team, maybe that kid doesn't play as much, or maybe that kid has to do this role and they want that role. And those are hard conversations to have sometimes, but I just feel like honesty, I've always tried to be honest and upfront and always make it like I want what's best for your kid, even if it's not the position or the role they want right now. And to be honest with you, I've had several kids not get playing time until their senior year.
and then they step up and have a huge role. Tristan Harrison last year didn't hardly see much playing time, and he ended up being a starter on last year's team. And so I've always talked about putting in your time, putting in your due diligence, and it usually plays out in your favor.
And kind of just wrapping it all up, you talked about how you've had players come back, players call you. You know, I still see Xander every once in a while, which is kind of cool to see. You talk about the Hall brothers come back. I love talking to Ty whenever I can. What do you hope that your players, when you're done coaching, here remember about you? What type of coach do you want to be that they remember that makes them want to come back and see you like they do?
I hope they know, and I think they do know. And I wanted to be thought of someone who actually cares. I care about you personally. I care about you as a person. I care about you as a basketball player, but that's secondary to who you are as a person, what you are. And I think if anything comes out, it's for me. You know, basketball's basketball. It's a fun game that we get to play and we get to compete in. But at the end of the day, it's about relationships. And you know, I hope they know that I love them, I support them, I want what's best for them. I hope they know that I'm there for them. You know, I hope my players that I'm coaching now know the same thing. And that's just what I try to carry on. I'm going to demand a lot out of you when I am coaching you. I'm going to get on you at times. I'm going to do a lot of things, but when it comes to off the court, they know how much I care, and I think that's why I'm able to coach them the way I am.
Coach, thank you so much for taking your time today. I appreciate it. Make sure you stay with us. We're watching Green State the rest of you. Know we're going to try and be here in the Gopher Gym whenever we can.
Yes.
And make sure you tune in next month. Hopefully we'll have some more coaches for you, just like Coach Ayers, who has been a great job here at Green State, and we'll see you guys next month.